If I asked you what your favorite kind of video game was, I might hear FPS, RPG, or maybe Survival Crafter. If you're like 16% of the people that I included in this poll, you might mention strategy. Now, it's no secret that strategy games have sort of fallen off in popularity over the last decade, especially RTS games. There's already a wealth of videos covering that topic. What I wanted to do is focus on a specific subgenre of RTS that I feel like not only has the industry moved on from and forgotten about, but I feel like we never saw the full potential of. And that's those games that combined elements of RTS with first-person or third-person shooting. Now, there are two games that I think really nailed that balance between the RTS elements and the first or third-person shooting elements, and we'll be getting to those later. I wanted to start with the earliest example of this kind of game that I could think of, 1998's Battlezone. Out of the RTS FPS games that I'm going to be focusing on here, Battlezone 1998 really leans the most into the RTS side of that family. The core gameplay is almost identical to traditional top-down RTS games, with gameplay focusing on the construction of a base that builds units that fulfill the various necessary niches of the genre, including resource gathering, construction, offense, and defense. Here, you start off with a recycler, the foundational construction unit of the game. It builds the essentials, including scavengers, a defenseless utility vehicle that gathers scrap, the single resource in the game used to build everything. Once you've placed a recycler down on a geyser to power him up and you've built your first scavenger, you're off. And from here, the gameplay loop will be instantly recognizable to anyone who has played an RTS game before. Typically, in a 1v1 or instant action type match, you also get a couple of these turret dudes alongside your recycler. You, seeing the word turret, know what to do. You order him to a nearby spot that looks like it needs defending, and you're immediately met with an enthusiastic yet dryly sarcastic proclamation that you're the boss. And this is where the absolutely immaculate vibes of Battlezone really start to show. This is a Cold War alternate reality where the space race went too far, where factions are waging proxy wars on the moon and Mars, and yet the guys under your command talk like they just clocked into their construction gig building a local Hardee's. Some, like the tank pilots or the recycler, take their jobs super seriously. Some, like the scout or the turret, try to find ways to have fun. The scavengers are young and genuinely enthusiastic. And some, like the rocket tank or constructor, are just there for a paycheck. And then there's the infantry boys we release from the APCs.
Fresh air.
These voice lines add spirit and personality to an experience that might have otherwise come off as overly gritty or serious. And in doing so, this makes the RTS layer feel more human, more personal, and really just more fun to inhabit.
Turret deployed. Building. Unit factory here. Building underway. Ready to build. Unit complete. Yes, sir. No mercy. Longbow here. Show me the high ground. Heading now. Oh, follow the leader. Incomplete. Scavenger here.
And this is where I think Battlezone really showcases the power of this genre. It doesn't just feel more personal because of the voice lines, although they help, but they're just one piece of the puzzle. It feels more grounded across the board because you're physically inhabiting the same battlefield as your units. You're driving a vehicle, or on foot, fighting alongside them, hearing their voices on the radio as the battle unfolds around you. Shockwaves from nearby explosions rocking your tank. And when your vehicle is destroyed and you're left stranded, on foot, exposed, you can call one of your loyal hover tank pilots nearby to come and pick you up, abandoning their vehicle so that you can have one. But while they're on their way, you're in this brief state of panic because if you die, it's game over. Battlezone set a new bar for me as a kid, both mechanically and emotionally. It combined humor with feelings of existential dread and loneliness, all while making the feelings of responsibility core to the RTS genre feel all the more real and impactful. A few games over the years have given me similar feelings, but nothing ever quite did what Battlezone did. But maybe that's okay. Battlezone is a top-tier game, and it recently got a Redux release on Steam that you should definitely check out if it sounded at all interesting to you. But really, I always found that I had more fun with RTS games and strategy games in general when I had a person to play with rather than just the AI. A game like Battlezone that's all RTS, all FPS, uncompromisingly both, appeals to a very specific niche of gamer that I happen to belong to. Most people don't though. So a game with lighter RTS elements has the potential to appeal to a wider audience. That's what the next two games do. While on the surface it may look like these would have nothing in common, they each have a multiplayer mode built on the same foundational philosophy of how to combine these genres. So we have The Outfit, a cartoonish, over-the-top third-person action game set in World War II, and Operation Flashpoint Dragon Rising, a gritty, realistic, first-person milsim set in the modern day. Both of these games give you command in their own way. In The Outfit, your command is, similarly to the character's combat and story, gamified and stylized. You're not micromanaging a platoon or issuing unit commands. You're earning resources called field units, abbreviated to FU, by killing enemy units or picking up FU crate drops, which drop onto the map at regular intervals via parachute. While there is no base construction or even unit construction in the traditional sense, you spend those FUs essentially designing the front line through the placement of defenses. You know, things like drop a machine gun nest here, call in an anti-tank emplacement there, bring in a tank or other vehicle for yourself to drive. It's battlefield control through infrastructure. The gameplay is fast, frenetic, and chaotic, rewarding quick thinking and decision making amidst a constant volley of anti-tank rounds and machine gun fire. There's hardly a moment of quiet, and when there is, you can't help but feel like your opponent must be cooking up something absolutely diabolical to unleash on you.
This is how I...
In Operation Flashpoint, the command that you have is smaller scale and more granular. You command a squad of 4, including yourself, so really just 3. You can issue orders to the whole squad or just to individuals. Orders like move, engage, regroup, all the way down to really specific commands like telling them to breach and clear a particular building. It's slower, more intimate, less spectacle, with a lot more tension. The game feels heavy, not just on the soul, but like literally heavy. The character movement feels slow and weighty. Gunshots have impact and heft.
100 meters north. Medic! On my way! Defend me!
Artillery strikes and other explosions nearby shake your screen violently. Death comes quick, often with no warning, and often instantaneously. It can hit any of your squad members at any time, driving home a sense of responsibility for them and the mission. Now let's talk about the multiplayer modes that they each have that I think share a lot in common. In The Outfit, the Versus mode is built around 1v1, with the core of the gameplay focused on the fight over map infrastructure, but it goes deeper than what I was talking about earlier with placing defenses. If you want airstrikes or artillery, you have to take the radio towers. If you want better tanks, better anti-tank guns, or better machine guns, you have to control the respective production facilities. Now let's look at Operation Flashpoint's Supremacy mode. On paper, it's built for up to 32 players, but if there's any empty slots, AI fills them. But strip it down to 1v1, and I think this is where the magic of this really shows. Here, each player not only controls their squad, but each can also issue commands to the 3 other AI squad commanders on their team. You're not fighting over vehicle depots like in the Outfit, but you are fighting over 2 critical towers. One grants access to airstrikes, one allows you to call artillery. Having access to one or both of these can be massively instrumental in winning the war. With a well-placed artillery stopping an incoming attack or clearing an enemy location before attacking, buying you the respawn time, which defaults to 20 seconds, to make serious territory gains. Like in the Outfit, you're not building bases or constructing units in the traditional sense. Here, in both cases, control over map infrastructure, pre-existing map infrastructure, equals power. As for actually winning the game, both of these games kind of operate like the old Star Wars Battlefront games, specifically the Conquest mode. If you hold the majority of positions, you will either drain or gain points. You'll either drain the enemy's points or you'll gain points for your team. In the case of the Outfit, you are draining their points, similar to Battlefront. If you are playing Operation Flashpoint, you will gain points. Still, basically the same thing. I find these 2 game modes to be nearly infinitely replayable, with no 2 matches feeling exactly the same, as each player experiments with different strategies and approaches. I love when games give you command. Star Wars Republic Commando had one of my favorite campaigns when I was a kid for that very reason. And I'm still pissed we didn't get to find out what happened to Sev. The Carrier Command franchise did a lot of special things too. And I personally really enjoyed Gaia Mission, despite its lack of critical or commercial success. Oh, and there's one more game that I wanted to bring attention to. It's a small, indie-developed game that I discovered while I was doing research for this video. It lacks multiplayer, which does mean that it technically falls outside the scope of this video, but I'm just stoked to see another developer trying to put a twist on this genre. It's called Dangerous Land, and it's available on Steam. It combines medieval settlement building with unit commands and first-person hack and slash and ranged combat, all while you're trying to defend your settlement from waves of enemies. It's simple and it's unrefined. Really, it's just the enemy AI. They just kind of walk in a straight line towards things to attack. But outside of that, the gameplay's fantastic, and I really see the vision. And I hope that this developer sees the support that they need to continue future development. Alright, that's it for me for this video. If you guys stuck around till the end, then
You're the boss.
let's hope we see a reignition of this genre in the future.